friends, welcome back to my channel. So I'm filming this slightly early. It is February 23rd or 24th, I don't remember. I have 4 days off right now from teaching. We have a nice long weekend, so I'm going to try and bust out as many videos as I can so that all I have to do is edit them and I won't miss any more posts. Fingers crossed. But in less than a month here, spring is about to start. So spring has always been my favorite season. It feels very homey and family friendly, and it's like the earth is giving you just a warm hug to cheer you up and to keep you going. And it's rainy and it's just very nostalgic and very homey, and love is in the air, the flowers are blooming, and things are nearly perfect. So I have 16 books because I could not eliminate one to make it 15. So you're welcome. 16 books that I'm hoping to read in the spring. And then hopefully I will also be making a spring book recommendations. So these are like books that remind me of springtime or that kind of put me in a nostalgic mood, which I know that isn't everyone. Like if I put Holes as a nostalgic book for me, not everyone is gonna think that. Some people are gonna be like, oh, I hate that book, or it doesn't bring me back to my childhood because I didn't read it as a child. So these are just personal to me, just as my TBR is personal to me for one reason or another. So I'm just gonna jump right in, and there's something nostalgic about all of these books right here. So for me, I am a teacher, but more than that, I'm someone who continues to learn every single day. I don't think that you ever stop learning, especially if you're an educator. Like, you can't just go in there and be like, oh, I know everything, I'm always right, my students don't know anything, because that's not true. My students teach me almost as much as I teach them. Yes, I'm teaching them the fundamentals. I'm teaching them math and reading and spelling and everything like that. I'm teaching them, you know, basically I'm their first teacher. Well, that's not true. Their parents are their first teachers. But I'm their first, like, in-school teacher because I have kindergartners. And, you know, you would think, oh, okay, well, then they're not going to teach you anything. But that's not the case at all. They teach me something new every day. So these books are books that I think will teach me something. So there's Together We Stand, an infographic timeline of feminism. So it's non-fiction about feminism and some of the people that are important to feminism. So I just really want to read that. No real reason. This one kind of makes me feel like I can learn something, but it's also very homey. So I'm going to read, I'm going to tell you about the next two, which please don't think like I'm Okay, anyways. Unsolved Deaths by Charles Phillips. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a bunch of unsolved deaths, and that brings me home. My mom loves documentaries on, like, well, maybe not documentaries, but like the first 48 and unsolved crimes and things like that. I think that might be part of the reason that I'm obsessed with true crime and especially unsolved things. And it's also like the detective inside of me and the teacher inside of me. I want to learn more. I want to know more. I want to investigate. I want all the information. So there's that one. And then the last one that you're going to be like, oh, well, it brings you home. What? I know, but hear me out, okay? I'm like completely obsessed with everything to do with... Okay, so the other true crime book that I think will bring me home is Hunting Charles Manson by Liz Well. I have always been obsessed with this case, and I don't know why. I've seen the movie. I think there are 2 versions of the movie, and I think I've seen both of them. It's been a while since I've watched them, but the original is the one that sticks with me more than anything. Then I've read Helter Skelter, which is a huge book. I do recommend it if you like true crime, though. And I've seen documentaries about Charles Manson and interviews with him from prison. And yeah, now I just want to continue with that journey. He's a very scary guy. He's terrifying. If you don't know what he's done, I'm not gonna go into it here because maybe you don't like learning about like true crime like I do. But he is terrifying. So if you don't know what this man did, Google Charles Manson and you'll get some of it. Hopefully you don't need to go on a deep dive like I do, but if you do get obsessed, then let me know in the comments below. Okay, then the last 3 books that bring me back home are Fever, 1793 by Lori Howes Anderson. I absolutely love this historical fiction. It's young adult, I think, but I haven't read it in years. And I think her name is Maddie Cook. She is like my bookish best friend. She is the teenager inside of me. She is a survivor, and I felt like we were one and the same when I read this years ago. I have always wanted to return back to this book for a very long time, and I feel like it's time. It is time. And then another like nostalgic read that I read as a child that I guess you could take both of these as recommendations as well, but I really want to visit Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Patterson as well. I think that both of these books are heartbreaking. And this one is historical fiction. It's about the epidemic that happened in 1793 in Philadelphia. And so it's very historical. But I highly recommend it. And then Bridge to Terabithia is about this boy and this girl and their friendship. They're neighbors, and they end up forming this amazing friendship. There is a book I mean, there is a movie that I think holds up pretty well, but I want to do like a movie book type vlog or comparing them. So I'll probably have to rewatch this movie, which I'm not mad about. I think, so it's kind of like a fantasy, a portal fantasy. It's bridged to Terabithia, so they, you know, go to Terabithia and things happen, and it has friendship, it has soul, it's emotional, and so good. One of my favorites. And then the last, like, homey book is one in which the main character returns home. So I actually haven't read this one yet, and that's okay. So there's Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. This is about this witch named Emmy who returns home after being gone for 15 years because her mom is sick, and you know, witchy stuff happens, and it might be a second chance romance, and I'm here for it. Okay, and then the next section of books is like books that I think are gonna be like a warm hug, because that's what I feel like the springtime is. It's like this massively warm hug, and I just love that for me. So the first one is kind of big. Oh, it's scary. Oh, you know what? It's not even 500 pages. It looks massive, but I guess it's not. So, My Absolute Darling by Gabriel Talent. Yes. I feel like this is going to remind me of All the Ugly and Wonderful Things, which I recently read, and that one broke my heart and also like picked me up again. So this follows this girl named Turtle who lives in the like redwood forest in California. She has to kind of survive on her own because her mom died and her dad is kind of not there anymore. And this is kind of like her survival story, but I feel like it's going to be much, much more than that. I've heard amazing things about this book, so I'm excited. Okay, and then the next one is probably the one that I'm most scared to put on this list because I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to get to it or not, but we're going to try. So, look at how big she is. She's pretty thick. I think she's like 1,100 pages. Oh, okay, not quite. 1,037 pages. But this is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. So this is one of those classics that by all intensive purposes I should hate, because I believe it's surrounded by war and it's a classic, and for those two reasons I should not be interested. But there's something about Scarlett O'Hara and her love story, and I feel like it's kind of like a coming-of-age novel in a way as well. And I've only heard amazing things about this book. And I know that I've seen the movie a long time ago. But I would also like to read this book and watch the movie and do like a comparison for you. But the size of this book scares the living bejesus out of me. I've heard, yeah. So that one's on there. And then the last two books that I feel are gonna give me a hug and just like wrap me up and make me feel all cozy inside. The first one is one that I've started. Okay, so I'm only 30 pages into it, but it's been on my pile of shame for a long time. This one is so freaking funny, too. It's 20 Times a Lady by Karen Bosnick. It kind of reminds me of the movie What's Your Number with Anna Faris, I believe. But basically, you follow this girl, this woman named Delilah, who sleeps with her boss. And her boss is the 20th guy that she slept with. So now she thought that she would only sleep with 20 people and then she would get married and that would be her person, but she doesn't want to marry her boss because, no, he's a terrible person apparently. So so she goes to back to her 19 exes to figure out why it didn't work and to try to make it work with one of them. And it was hilarious. Like I said, I'm only 30 pages in, but it was so funny. I was having such a good time, and I don't really know why I put it down. And then the last, like, warm hug type book that's on this list is A Dog's Journey by W. Bruce Cameron. So, if I'm being completely honest with you, I want to reread A Dog's Purpose before I read A Dog's Journey. I'm going to talk about A Dog's Purpose first. This broke my heart. This is such an emotional, defeating read. But it's got such a big heart. And it makes me feel things. It makes me miss dogs that are no longer with me. And pets in general that are no longer with me. And I want to return to this world. I mean, it's our world, but told through the perspective of a dog. And I want to return. I also need to buddy read this, so hopefully my friend will buddy read this with me in spring. So Amanda, this is your notice. We are going to be reading A Dog's Purpose at some point soon-ish. And A Dog's Journey kind of asks the questions, do we take care of our pets or do our pets take care of us? As someone who is a huge animal lover and has 2 dogs of her own and has always had animals in her house, yes, dogs, I would even argue pets in general, yeah, pets in general take care of us more than we take care of them. Yes, we have to do the fundamentals of feeding and watering them. Feeding. But on my worst days, my pets can be the ones that show me that they are there more than any person. Sometimes. Like, my dogs just, like, they're in bed with me right now while I'm filming. They're just laying right behind me so that I know that they're there. Gosh, hi. But that's what I mean. I mean, they're always there. They are fundamental to my being. And I know it's gonna emotionally wreck me, but it's also, I think it's gonna be the same because it's the same author, the same kind of vibes. I think it's gonna be like a warm hug that also destroys me. So, that works. Then we have these 4 books, which are fantasy or fantasy light, maybe. the springtime, again, it just goes back to comfort and home for me in the spring. So there's Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. I might continue with this series. This is the first in the series, though. I know I'm reading a series or starting a new one, and I might continue on with it in the spring, but I'm not going to add those books on here. This is the only one I have to read for this video. So this is Murder, Mayhem, and Magic. And anything magic just screams springtime to me. Honestly, magic just screams home to me. I think it might be because, okay, so as a kid, I was obsessed with Matilda. And you follow her. It's a heartbreaking movie / book about this girl named Matilda, whose family doesn't really treat her the best at all. And, you know, she kind of embraces this teacher, and that's where the warm hug comes from. But she's also got some kind of magical power, and I always wanted to be Matilda. She was like the girl that I wanted to be. And anything magical takes me back to that nostalgic place in my life when I wanted to have those magic powers. I mean, I feel like everyone kind of wants to be magical a little bit and witchy, or like, I would love to be a witch. That would be a dream come true. So these are kind of like my dream come true books, I guess. Yeah, let's go with that. But this Poison Study, Magic, Murder, Mayhem, I don't know a lot about it. I don't want to read this because this is the first in a series, and I just don't want to be spoiled for anything. These ones are all kind of retellings. So I have learned, I read Alice in Wonderland a couple of years ago for what I assume is the first time, but I don't know for sure. I might have read it as a kid and I just don't remember. You know, it was cute. I gave it 3 stars. I can see why people would love it. For me, it was fun. I didn't get anything extra from it, but it was fun. I have been reading a ton of retellings, and for some reason, Alice in Wonderland retellings in particular just make me nostalgic for something that I've never experienced before. And I know that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me. So for my spring TBR, I'm putting Splintered by A.G. Howard on here. It's a Alice in Wonderland retelling. So I can be nostalgic for something that I've never had. Then I have Forest of 1,000 Lanterns by Julie C. Deo. First off, that flowers screams springtime. Retelling of the evil queen from Snow White. And then another first in a series is Spelled by Betsy Scow. Somewhere over the rainbow, all spell is about to break loose. So Spell is the name of the town. And this, I believe, is like a retelling of Oz, which I have learned in the last couple of years that Oz is one of my favorite fairy tales, fantasy series. I don't know. I haven't read the whole series, but I absolutely love The Wizard of Oz. And now I just want to read a retelling of it. Okay, and then these last two, I can't really explain why I feel like they would be perfect for the springtime. They just give me springtime vibes. I'm thinking it might be the whole magical thing again, of wanting magical witchy powers, making it feel like magical witchy things are home to me. I don't know. But we have House of Ivy and Sorrow by Natalie Whipple. They say that a witch lives in the old house under the bridge. What they don't know is that 2 witches live there, and this is some kind of witchy adventure. Along with The Waking Forest by Alyssa Wes. This is yet another witchy adventure, and that cover, that forest. So it's about this forest that disappears, and it kind of gives me oh, what was that book? This book. If I remember what it is, I'll pop it right here, but it's oh man. It's like the Blair Witch Project in book form with the disappearing road in the forest. And I read it recently, like within the past few months. Like 6 months or something. Oh well, if it's up there, you're welcome. If not, I'm sorry. But it kind of gives me that kind of ominous, dark vibe, and I'm excited for it. So obviously, based on the books that I picked, I don't think springtime is very dark or anything. I think it's more like magical and happy and homey and maybe a little mysterious. So those are the books that I pick for my spring TBR. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So these are some of the books on this TBR.